This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by PatriotInternet.com.
Where are you coming from, sir? I don't consent to answer any questions. So you need to answer my questions? Because I have every right to know why you're in the vehicle.
This is how it started. Your friend and humble narrator pulled to the side of the road for driving 45 and a 30. The stop was interesting to some people because I broadcast live video from it, and because I refused to answer the New Hampshire troopers' questions. Well, if that's how it started, then this is how it's likely to end. Me doing 18 hours of community service. Here are some of the highlights from my experience at Jaffrey Peterborough District Court today, April 27, 2009. When I was issued my $75 ticket, I responded without signing any of their paperwork or entering a plea. I just sent them a note saying that I wasn't comfortable doing either. They set a trial date for me and sent me some more paperwork. This paperwork had useful information on it that gave me the option of negotiating a settlement. Well, I called up the state trooper barracks with which I was supposed to negotiate, and I got a nice call back from a trooper named Scott Ellis. I was uncomfortable with the idea of paying a $75 fine because I disagreed with the unusually low speed limit at this location and because I was stopped when there was almost no traffic. I suggested in lieu of the $75 fine, I do $150 worth of community service in the form of litter pickup. Well, sure enough, I walk into court today. Ellis is there. He's very friendly. Court security officers at the entrance all seem to know why I'm there. They are also friendly. Maybe they're viewers. I enter the courtroom at 10 a.m. right when I'm supposed to be there. I end up having to wait about half an hour. I never got around to filing a motion or whatever to bring a camera. But I had intended to bring one up to the metal detector and at least try to bring it in, at least request. I figured I'd be denied, but wanted to go through the motions. Well, I ended up at the metal detector and didn't even have a camera in my hand, but it probably didn't make much difference. They would have shot it down anyway. And I can only do so much at once. My main goal here was to make sure I was not underwriting an inappropriate stop, or that if I did, they were spending more money on me than they were getting out of me. One goal at a time. So anyway, I go into the courtroom, and like I said, I ended up having to wait for a little while. Well, there were several cases before me, and these were interesting to watch. As is so often the case, these were all victimless crime charges, and in fact, there was not even a charge of endangering anyone. One poor young man, an ex-Marine, was charged with marijuana possession. I watched as he basically provided the court more information than you should ever give a court. He told them he had post-traumatic stress disorder, something that can be held against you. He admitted to having the marijuana. He pled guilty. When a prosecutor said he was in a domestic dispute with a certain person, he said, "No, I was in a dispute with a different person." He fell into that common trap. People think that if they say good things about themselves, it's sort of like something that can be used in their defense. But anything good you say about yourself is just hearsay. The only thing that can be used is the bad things, the incriminating stuff you say about yourself. Fortunately, all this stuff he was saying, he said after the verdict was rendered and the sentence pronounced. And I'm happy to report that the judge seemed relatively reasonable in his handling of the sentence. He bumped the thing down to a Class B misdemeanor. He issued a fine of roughly $350 and suspended roughly $200 of that. The young man was wise enough to request a suspension of part of the fine. There was another man there who was there for driving on a suspended license, and he told the judge that he had paid everything he was supposed to have paid within the proper time frame. The state just apparently never processed his checks fast enough. I believe these were just registration fees. He claims the state permanently suspended his license as a result. But again, in this case, the judge seemed to be relatively open-minded. And the court workers in the building seemed relatively helpful to this man. The judge, by the way, is Judge Runyon. I hope I'm saying that right. Finally, the judge announces that there are several cases up for trial that day. Mine is one of them. He asks that everyone stand when he calls their name and announce whether they are ready to proceed. When it's my turn, I stand and say, well, no one can ever be ready to face the full power of the state, but I'll do my best. At that point, Trooper Ellis stands up and says he believes we have a negotiated settlement. And I more or less confirm that. So we are brought to the front immediately. The people who are going to trial have to wait. Trooper Ellis and the trooper who pulled me over stand on one side, and I stand at the podium. The judge and troopers seem to believe that I have pled not guilty, and they seem to believe that I am willing to do the community service in exchange for a not guilty, or in exchange for a guilty plea, or nolo contendere. I correct them slightly in that I haven't entered a plea, and that I haven't exactly said that I would issue nolo or guilty pleas in exchange for the service. These details work themselves out rapidly, and the judge sentences me to 18 hours community service rather than the 15 hours we had earlier discussed. They don't really get into any details as to what kind of service I have to do, except that it has to be for some type of registered charity, I believe. I'm not sure if the state of New Hampshire Highway Department is going to qualify, so I'm going to have to call back in and clarify that. I don't bring up my complaints about the speed limit to the judge because I appreciate the way everyone on the prosecution side has handled this. When the hearing is over, I ask Trooper Ellis, could I speak with you for a second? And I bring up my complaints about the speed limit to him only. Basically, I tell him I'm worried that a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit is excessively low, and that it actually could endanger people by making them go too slow, while they're on a hill. He counters that because there is a stoplight at the bottom of the hill. The speed limit is low to keep people from slamming on their brakes while going 45 or 50 miles an hour near the stoplight as it turns red. But I blow an opportunity to bring up something else I had meant to bring up with Trooper Ellis. You see, Trooper Ellis is one of the men who participated in the arrests on April 13th. I should have asked him about this because there were concerns about the way the protesters were carried. But I didn't know until I got there that he was the same guy who was involved in the arrests. Anyway, as I say, he was very friendly, and I thought he handled the thing in a transparent and honorable manner in terms of this community service thing. I went downstairs then to get my paperwork, and ran into another potential hurdle. They wanted me to sign their paperwork. I told them that I don't really speak legalese, and so I can't be sure that I understand what they're putting in front of me. I said I have some paperwork I've written up myself where I'm pledging to do the community service as ordered. Can I give you this and sign it? So twice they told me no. So I said, well, could we take this up the chain of command a little bit? And at that point, they told me yes. I said, okay, just give us the paperwork you've made for yourself, sign it, and we'll attach it to our paperwork. So all in all, this seems to have worked out. I plan to do my community service picking up litter in the Grafton area as part of the Adopt a Highway program. I would say these events have somewhat enhanced my level of confidence in the New Hampshire state government. Tired of Big Brother tracking your every move? Would you like to surf the net anonymously? Conceal your location? Well, then check out patriotinternet.com, a New Hampshire business eager to attend your privacy needs. patriotinternet.com